Little bit. Just I had to finish up that other. I had to finish up the other stream. Welcome to this episode 5 of the New Not a Novice Nurse podcast with your girl Olain Karem, the author of New Not a Novice Nurse. This is you sharing your story and listening to the stories of internationally educated nurses, of how they have been able to transition from their home country to another country, how they're thriving, what the challenges are, what the journey has been, the successes as well, and also using the opportunity to talk to you about the book New Not a Novice Nurse. So for so many of you that already know, the New Not a Novice Nurse is my second book, second official book that will be launched during the week of the International Nurses Week. And it's a guide for internationally educated nurses who want to thrive, in their new environment. So many international nurses have come up to me in my various role, here in Ireland as well, to share their struggle. And it seems as if nobody's going to help us. We have to help ourselves anyways. So combining my experiences and of course experiences of other internationally educated nurses, we put bringing out this book to be a guide so that the mistake that we made, you will not make it. The struggles that we had, you shouldn't have to experience that, and your transition will be a smooth journey and you'll be able to thrive well in your new environment. So thank you. Welcome here with me, my guest. Before she comes up, just again, this is the 5th episode. If you have not seen the previous episode 1, 2, 3, 4, please go and watch it. It's live on my YouTube, Nurse Coach Ola, and you can also join, ask your questions. If you have any comments, please feel free to drop them. If you want to be part of this, just send me a DM or you can send an email to nursecoachola@gmail.com. For those on Instagram Live, if you want to see our audience, please, you can use the YouTube link. You'll be able to see the guests rather. Otherwise, you can just listen through and hear me, and you can also hear our guests. So let me bring up our guests right now. The first guest we had in episode 4 was from the United States. So we're making this a global podcast. So we had different perspectives. So welcome with me, no other person than Nurse Toyin. Yes. Hi.
Hello, Olayinka. It's nice to meet you on this platform again. Obviously, we go ways back, and here we are together. My name is
Honestly,
Pauline, and I reside in United Kingdom. I have been for about 5 years now, having been in.
it's sweeting me.
So here we are.
Thank you. Honestly, this particular episode is going to be very interesting. Guess what? Because my guest is my childhood friend. Yes, it's my childhood friend, right from I can't remember over 20 years. Okay,
Oh
and
yes, yeah,
we kind of lost, transition. Everybody went their own way, and it was from secondary school, post-secondary school that we met, and from there everybody went to their own way, and only for us to realize that we are both doing nothing. We are both
yeah,
nurses
yeah, and that
after.
was when we realized, yeah.
Yeah, after we were both nurses. So nursing brought us back together. I think I should be grateful to nursing, because if you are not a nurse, maybe we would have even connected.
Yeah, it just sort of gave us a common ground to relate a
Yeah,
lot better together. Yeah.
exactly. So thank you so much for coming here today. So I know it's very
Anything for
busy.
you?
Yeah, and I remembered before you. I think I traveled before you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I traveled before you, and it was like how okay, which were UK and all that. So how was it like? What was the point of decision making for you to
Oh,
relocate?
okay.
Why?
Um, Obviously, you know how home is for us. Back in 2016, when I looked at the social political platform of Nigeria, I saw the dimension in which things were going and the direction. I'm like, I don't know if I want to bring up my children in a country like this. At
Mm,
the time, I already had 3 kids, and my eldest was already having some form of trauma, psychological trauma from the Chibok girls kidnapping back then.
wow.
Yeah. So she would go to sleep every evening crying and being really worried about it all. And I knew it was only gonna probably most likely get worse, and I didn't want that to happen. So we started considering our various options, my husband and I, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know that just 1 second, I'm trying to get a guest here. There's somebody from Canada that wants to join. Um so that would be great to have you together here. So, and for those who are on Instagram, please use the YouTube link, Noscochola, and you'll be able to join live as well. So hearing you now talking about the reason, I see something about peace, safety, children, considering your family as well. So that's another key thing, because I'm bringing out things of the reasons why people decide to relocate. Our last guest there was talking about it was because she felt like she could give up more value. She has more, even people around her saw that she had more to give. So why can't you go to an environment that will enable your gifts, your talents, your skills, and bring it out, to life? So one key thing for you there was about safety of the environment. You saw the socio-economic, political, situation, and you felt like, no, I think I deserve a better environment. My family, my children deserve a better environment. So that's very important, and it's really important that we talk about this, because unlike the general narrative that people will feel, oh, you're just traveling because you want more money. It's not just about the money. Fine, the
No,
money is good.
no. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't like more money? But
Money is good.
at the time we left Nigeria, I mean, at the time we left Nigeria and the cost implications of it,
Mm,
if we were talking about money, then we probably wouldn't have bothered because it was so costly and so expensive at the time.
yeah,
And I don't think it's even any less expensive at this current time to relocate with a family of six.
yeah,
So, yeah, um, comfort wise, we were comfortable in as much as we were financially comfortable. This economic
yeah,
safety wasn't particularly there. The future wasn't very clear. I
yeah.
wouldn't say it was bleak, but it wasn't very promising.
Mm,
And the children are still so small, and then you can only imagine where things will be when the children become much bigger and want to start a life of their own. You want to put them on a pedestal whereby they can easily stand and get right up. You don't want them plowing through life and struggling through
yeah,
things.
yeah. That's good. Thank you so much, Toyin. Yeah, I want to go straight now. You made the decision, right? Now that you made the decision and you go to the UK, what has been the journey like for you? What challenges that you went through that you would like to share?
um Getting to the UK, I'll tell you one thing that was funny. I left Nigeria towards the third half of the year. Yeah, like the third quarter of the year. So it was so warm, it was so hot, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm warmly dressed enough. And then I got to the UK, and it was autumn, and temperatures were like between 11 and 15. And
Mm,
God, was I cold? Was I cold? That was the first thing. I was so cold. At the time, I hadn't bought any coats, so I had
yeah,
to layer up, and it was funny. And it wasn't funny. And then I had met a lovely lady virtually on one of our WhatsApp groups, and she agreed. She literally gave me a coat. She gave
was
me
the
a
weather.
coat.
So you
Yeah.
had challenge with the weather.
Yes.
Cool.
So fine. There was culture shock in the area of the weather because I wasn't expecting. I knew it would be cold, but you know what we call cold in Nigeria? You put on a cardigan, you put on a sweater, you're
Abatan.
all right. Almost. It's not funny. The cold was colding, and the nights were worse. So I find by the time it's 7 p.m. in the evening, it's so cold. Like you literally can't walk a block on the road without having to layer up. But that's just by the way. And then I got to the hospital and I found this interesting thing. where everybody walks past you and they smile at you.
Mm. Say that again.
So that was a bit, I found it a bit odd because it wasn't a culture at all where I came from. And I found people you don't even know from anywhere would just literally walk past you and smile at you. And I'm like, what's going on here? Is that so? I would say it took me about 6 months to get over my culture shock
Wow.
from one thing to the other and to the next and to the next and to the next. Um, I
I think
found,
I think this issue that you saw that you talk about, like people just walk past you. I experienced it as well. Sometimes I want to smile, like I just you
it's
have this
difficult
attitude
when
that
you
you're
don't have
bringing.
it in you to be able to smile normally before. So
Yeah.
it's become a learned behavior over time anyway. And I mean, 5 years on, I can also plaster that smile on my face.
Mm. But
Yeah,
sometimes you want to smile. This is what I'm saying. Like you want to say hi, hello, but you
yeah,
just see the
yeah.
bland face and bland reaction, and
Oh,
everybody
yeah. As
just
soon as they turn their face away, the smile disappears.
the smile disappears, and you feel like, did I do
What was
anything?
that? What
Did I
was
do
that?
anything
You
wrong?
feel like, what
Or
was
something like
that?
that. So, but and this is something I also wrote in the book, New Not a Novice, is personal space, emphasis on personal space. So what you call personal space is different from what other people call personal space. And understanding that is really important, to save you a lot of frustration, to save you a lot of, all this assumption that maybe they don't like me or something, because that is their personal space. It's just natural for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to
And
get that.
other thing I've come to understand is that their smile actually equals a hello. It's
Mm,
not that their smile is a polite way of non-verbal greeting. It's more like a body language of them saying hello. It doesn't necessarily mean they know you before. It doesn't necessarily mean um, they're trying to say anything. It doesn't necessarily mean they like your face or they don't like your face.
yeah.
It is just their way of being polite and saying, hello, I see you, you see me. Whether you smile back in return, they don't mind. Whether you don't
Mhm.
smile back in return, they really don't mind. So that's it for them.
That's it. Yeah, thank you. I'll bring in our second guest now. So this is very interesting. We'll have UK and Canada, right? That'll be very interesting. But before she comes in, just Tony, if you want to talk about what were your strengths, like how you've been able to go through these challenges, would you talk
I
us
would say
through?
one of my strengths when I came in was my confidence.
Hmm.
So it's a case of um, trying your best to mop up information and utilizing your confidence optimally. Um, do not let people see you as a pushover. Do not let people see you as someone who's always second guessing themselves and not certain what they want to do. If you're not entirely confident in carrying out a task, or if you're not entirely certain what somebody has said to you, you have every
Yeah.
right to say, pardon, you're being a bit too fast for me. Could you say that slowly, please?
Mm.
It's no crime. If I
Yeah.
speak um, a sentence in English, but use my Nigerian English accent, I can assure you 100%. So many of my non-Nigerian colleagues would not understand what I have just said, even though I have just spoken grammatically correct English sentences. But
Mm.
because I have realized that they struggle to understand me when I speak like that, I've also sort of adjusted to speak the way they would understand me a bit more easily.
Mm.
So in that way, I also expect that when I tell them, "Could you be a bit slower? I'm struggling to get what you're just saying to me." I expect that they would also understand because in the first place, sometimes I just say it on the off chance. I just say it to them. I said English language is not my first language, and if it's not my first language, then you can understand that.
Is English language not your first language? Actually,
No, it's not because
it's an official language. Yeah, but
Yoruba
your
language
official
is
language.
my first language. It's
I
the
know.
language where I know what my people will call the ayinike ayinipada.
Okay, okay. You have to narrate that. You have to translate that. But what I'm trying
But
to say is that looking at
English language,
our looking at our education system, so we were trained in English right
As a
from
second language.
nursery school. But
Yes.
even then, Tony, even then,
We were tutored in English language, but what
yeah.
I also came to understand, especially coming to Britain, a land where English language is the official language of communication, is that the
Mm,
English language we've been tutored in and taught to speak all of our lives, from nursery to university, is
mm.
command and response. We've not been tutored in how the British people actually speak the language.
I know. It's the how is missing. But what I'm trying to say is that we had all our education in English, and you remember that we were even told then that our native language is vernacular, right? And then English is
Which is a bit
prioritized.
silly. Which is a bit silly.
We won't go into that. Like, but what I'm trying to say is that, but now you get into this new environment and you don't even know how maybe the pace of the way they talk and they struggle to hear you. And like you said, having that confidence, right? Or even trying to ask them, can you speak slowly? Some nurses or some people struggle with that and they won't ask. I've had somebody that will not ask because of the fear of they might think that they might, what they might think that I'm dumb or I'm not good enough. So, and if you look at it competency wise, we've had nurses that had to have, I'll say, repeat or fail their probation or fail an adaptation because they could not communicate well in English. And they say we struggle to hear her, she's not communicating well. So those are kind of the struggles. But I'm happy to hear that you use the skills of asking question and reflecting and also taking time to
Exactly.
learn. All right, I have a
Another
second
thing,
guest.
and
Mm,
oh yeah, another thing I did was to sometimes rephrase the question back to the questioner, just for me to be double sure I've heard right what they've said.
mm,
So if
okay.
they've said something and I'm not entirely sure if I've missed out a word or I'm misinterpreting what they've said, probably due to the tonality or the body
Okay.
language with which it's said. If you repeat it back to them and say, "Is that what you mean?" And then they
Okay.
can easily say to you, "Oh yes, oh no, I mean it this way. Oh yes, exactly what you've just said is what I
Exactly.
mean." And that
So
just clarifies things.
ask questions and seek clarification. Let me just quickly bring in our second guest there. She will be going audio. Welcome, Oluwatosin Udi, all the way from Canada.
Hello, Inka, good to see you.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
Mrs. Marion.
Hi, Oluwatosin. It's nice to hear from you too. Oluwatosin, did you know Olayinka that Oluwatosin was my senior in School of Nursing?
Why did you think I brought the two of you together?
Uh,
It was intentional, right? Because
Oh, nice, nice.
this is another space apart from me trying to promote the book New Not a Novice. I'm also using this as well to be like a relaxation platform where international nurses can have this honest conversation in a relaxed environment. It's not an interview. We just want to speak our truths. We just want
Yeah,
to share our
yeah.
stories, our struggles, our success, and celebrate ourselves in that way as well. So welcome to see. Our
Hi,
guests have really audience really want to know you. Just briefly, we just said tell us about you.
okay. I am Oluwatosin Udi. I'm a Nigerian. I'm from Ondo State. That's from the western parts of Nigeria. Currently, I am in Canada. I am a registered nurse in Canada. I work in the long-term care. I'm married with three lovely kids.
There you are. Thank you so much. Yeah. So let me just bring everybody onto the same page now. So to sing. Okay, I have Tony, I have
Uh,
Tosin.
There you
I'm
go.
so
This is
blessed.
a tongue
Okay.
twister for you today.
Okay. So sing. I just wanted to ask how long, okay, the point where you made the decision that you want to relocate to and why Canada? Just briefly.
At that time, when I made up my mind to relocate, I was looking for a country that would instantly accommodate me and my family.
Mm,
And also the pathway to becoming a citizen will be very smooth, and there will also be some kind of support when I land with my family. So I thought of Canada,
mm.
and I made my research concerning Canada. Even at some point, I reached out to you about
Yeah.
Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I weighed both options, and I think Canada was most suitable at that time, even though it was more rigorous and it was more financial. It was
Demanding.
demanding more. Yeah, it was more financially demanding, but then I still preferred it. But I never knew it was going to be way hard to integrate into nursing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
I get so like you said, research. Now, researching about where you want to go is very important. And you did ask me then, and you had a purpose. You had a vision. You had a value. You wanted to go with your family, and that's very
yeah.
important. And so I think that's some of the things that people struggle with sometimes when they don't get the right information, and then they come in and then they started feeling like, well, I can't live here without my family. And so it's you knowing ahead what you want. Can you bear that wait period? Like
Mm,
if you come in, you have to wait a little bit before you can bring in your family. And I know that is changing very soon. I'm happy to share
mm.
that. Not officially, but that is changing very soon.
That's
And
good
the
to
UK
know.
as well. So knowing that information. So I hope we are getting this. Now, when you eventually moved, I don't know if you answered my question. Why? Why did you want to relocate? Or why did you relocate?
I made up my mind to relocate because nursing in Nigeria was not giving me what I wanted. As nurses in Nigeria, we are not getting
Mm,
that leverage. We don't have that great nobility. We just say it's a noble profession by mouth, but the nobility in the real sense, is not there. Wage wise, nurses are underpaid, and the respect that is accorded to that profession as a noble one, it's not
mm,
there. So I wanted an environment where I would love to be called a nurse. I would love to really express myself, because in Nigeria you'll be going through so many things, yet they don't want you to talk. They don't want you to
mm,
say anything. They want you to keep building that trauma, and you
mm,
become a monster,
mm,
right? So
mm,
from the training to the getting a job, every aspect of it in nursing. Are you, me and you, we went to the same university. You can flash your mind back, and humans should not be treated as like that.
yeah.
Not to talk of nurses,
No,
right?
I understand.
So
I understand. So for you, it was more like you wanted more, a
yeah,
better, remuneration, like you talk about
mhm,
it, reputation. You
yeah,
wanted more value, to be
yeah,
valued for who you are and for the
mhm,
work that you do, which
yeah.
was not actually, in Nigeria, but we find it in other places. So I'm trying to get all these common things of why, international nurses be located in the first place. Now, going to the other question that when you eventually moved now, and I'll bring Tony up as well now, you know, what were the common, I would say, challenges that you went through? Now you are in the country, you're in Canada, you're in the UK because that's what you wanted. But how was the journey like? How was the transition like for you? Were there key things that you struggled with, maybe ab initio, and how did you overcome that?
Okay, thank you so much. Like, when I came into Canada, I relocated in 2018, towards the later part of 2018, October.
Mm,
And at that time, we were required to do a nursing assessment different from the immigration assessment. So this assessment took about 16 months,
wow.
because of the Nigeria factor. The transcripts took a very long time. There was back and forth between the um, the assessment body and the department
Mm.
and the exams and record. So there was so many annoying things that happened that make that assessment to take that long. So I didn't get my assessment done until middle of okay, like early 2020, just before the pandemic. So after that, I had to be on the wait list to get into the bridging program because the assessment came out as not comparable. That is one of the, heartbreaking things. You, for Canada to say the nursing education in Nigeria is not comparable.
Comparable.
Yeah. So it means you have to go back to school to do some bridging programs to bridge those gaps that was identified in the assessment. And that bridging program is not automatic. You have to be on the wait list. So I was on the wait list. And in 2021, I got into the bridging program. It took 13 months.
Wow.
So in 2022, I think in March, I completed the bridging program and I made up my mind. Okay, I completed the bridging program in February. I
So
got
what were you
ACT.
doing? Sorry, what were you doing?
I
All the
was
while, like,
I was working as a personal support worker.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So I was
And
working as a personal support worker because that is the only job I can do without me presenting any license other than my
mm,
Nigerian nursing education at that time. But things have changed now. A lot of provinces have changed their rules. People no longer go through bridging programs now to
okay,
practice in Canada. Yeah.
Wow.
that's interesting. I'm just really
That's
interested to
interesting
know
to know.
about.
Yeah.
Honestly, this breeding program, I know in Ireland here we have is that you're coming in through aptitude test or adaptation. If you do the aptitude just within 2 weeks, if you pass, then you get your pin. And if it's adaptation, it's 6 weeks adaptation with possibility of extension to 12 weeks. And once you pass, you get your pin. And within
Mm,
that time, if you're doing adaptation, you can work as a what they call pre-reg. You're working as well, and you'll be paid a pre-reg fee, not a nurse bond till you get your pin.
mm,
But this bridging program taking that long, and when you
yeah.
said like, the qualification was not recognized, like how I'm just really, how did that make you feel?
Of course, I felt so sad. I felt
And
so
look at this
down.
person. This
Yeah.
person was a lecturer in the school of nursing.
That's the most annoying one too.
So you remember when I
And
was talking about bridging a gap, career gap? I talk about this as well in my book. Imagine that you've been a lecturer and then you have to work as a support
mhm,
when you actually have the credential.
yeah.
How did you cope? How
See,
did you cope?
there is one thing with me which has been helping me in my life journey. And
Mm,
that thing is great sense of determination. When I did the assessment and I got the report, I have every reason to say I am switching career, right?
mm,
And but I just told myself I have gone too far to quit.
wow.
And this nursing is not, I didn't come into nursing because I wanted to do nursing. My journey into nursing has a
Mm,
divine ordinance. I didn't get into school of nursing because I love it, but there
mm,
was a divine ordinance given to my dad. He
wow.
had it by himself. So because of that, I just made up my mind that God, you chose nursing for me. I didn't choose it for myself. So this journey, I'm going to be in it. Whatever it takes in this country, I will put it in, and I will get it done.
Mm. I like that. I really like that. It's that determination, and I think it's also tied down with the purpose. So knowing like there's a purpose for me, and I have to stick with it through thick and
Yeah.
thin.
So
Yeah,
let
that's
me
good.
also tell you, my journey, the Canadian journey, even get the PR, was not an easy one. I wrote
Okay.
IELTS in the preparation. I wrote IELTS exam, my first IELTS with 6 months pregnancy, my last child.
Mm,
The score I got I wanted to push it up. It was good. It was okay. But I wanted to push it up to get to 8. I wanted to get 8 in all, in each
Okay.
one, because Canada was using each, right?
Yeah.
So I went again. I wrote another one when I was 36 weeks pregnant, and I got an 8.
Wow.
So when I got into
Oh, even
Canada,
with pregnancy.
yeah, even with 36 weeks, I gave birth 2 weeks after that exam.
Wow.
So
Yes.
I pushed myself so hard. And when we got here and things were like, okay, these are the things you should do to get to practice, with the support of my husband, I made up my mind. I said, yes, you have done things that are hard. And I know you can do this. You remember when we did our public health? We came
Yeah,
with
of
babies.
course.
You came
Yeah.
with a 2 weeks old baby or 1 week old.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
came
That
with
was
my own
precious.
baby. Yeah.
That,
And
is that Precious or Peter?
it was precious, your first
Precious,
child.
okay.
And
Yeah.
also, it was my first child. We came with babies to attend classes.
Oh my God. Johnny.
Yeah, we came with
All
babies.
right.
So,
Yeah.
and when I got to Canada, I'm like, okay, I don't think it can be as bad as what we have gone through. Let's just keep pushing it. So I made up my mind. And
Mm.
even when they told me I will be on the wait list, I said, okay, no worries, let's go.
Okay, so I'll just throw that question back to Toyin there. We're talking about that. I want to come back to the bridging gap. What's it like in the UK? How long did you take before you got your PIN, and what were you doing within that period?
Okay, so I'll take that question a bit backward so I can answer your question
Okay,
effectively.
okay,
So I remember I was on a night shift when we chatted on during my break. We chatted on Facebook Messenger, and you told
yeah,
me you were in Ireland. And I was like, wow, really? How soon? How long ago? And you told me it was a few months at the time. So I started, like I said, I was already considering my choices of where I wanted to go. I tried a few countries, and some of them were not very hopeful at the time. I did my IELTS for Canada, I passed, but the financial implication was why we pulled out. And then I did another academic IELTS, and I qualified for Ireland and qualified for UK, but I was then pregnant with my last baby. And I knew that Ireland wouldn't let me go immediately with my family, not
yeah.
within the first 1 year
Post
thereabout.
touch.
Yeah. And I knew I didn't want a situation where I'll be separated from my children because they were still really young. And remember, I did say to you that my family was my main reason for wanting to relocate. If you remember,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So when I applied to jobs in the UK, at that time, agencies were still processing recruitment on behalf of candidates. So interestingly, this particular city I'm in, Salisbury, happened to be the very first employment letter I got. Happened to be the very first interview I passed. And then going forward, I had three more offers from three different hospitals. So I had, in total, I had four offers with me. And then I started,
oh, four
yeah,
offers.
yes, yes,
You hot, so
yes. I had four offers with me. Obviously, IELTS was done and dusted. So I
okay.
started juggling ideas in my head, started asking questions about various parts of the UK and where was better or was going to be the wiser place to
Mm,
raise a family, economically wise, and safe to bring up young children per se. And also, time factor was something else for me. I didn't want a situation where I'll just have their offer and they are tying me down with COS. COS
yeah,
being a certificate of sponsorship, which sometimes takes some companies so long to make available for you. So, um, in the end, I went with Salisbury, and I got to Salisbury after having done the part one of their adaptation course from Nigeria. It's called the CBT, obviously.
okay.
I think I was I must have been 36 weeks pregnant or thereabouts when I went to do that exam.
The
I had to fly
baby.
to Lagos because I couldn't go by road anymore. I was worried that I would trigger preterm labor and all that. But yeah, we did that and got here. And then I was in so much anxiety. Guess what for?
Why?
For the second part of my exam, the OSCE.
The
For some,
Oski.
for some odd reasons, I was so worried that,
I know we spoke then.
did we? Yeah. I was so
Mm.
worried that I was going to fail. And then my other worry was if I fail, considering what financial implication it will most likely have for me. I mean, my company would have most likely sponsored me to go again, but I just had this fear of failing.
Oh,
And I was so anxious, but it would most likely, I can think back now and put it down to hormonal stresses because I still had a very small baby
mm,
and post maternal post delivery hormones and everything. That's the only thing I could have put it down to. But I was so much anxious. But guess what? I did the exams and I came out all right. However, in the first 3 months of arriving here, I was working as a practice supervised practice nurse. So when you come, you have your
supervised practice nurse.
practice
Okay.
nurse. Yeah, I was working as a supervised practice nurse, and it just means that at the time I was employed as a band four, not as a band three. But I do know that some hospitals currently employ you from Nigeria as a band three to go up to band five when your pain arrives. So I was a band four for all the time before my OSCE exam. And thankfully, I did the OSCE in November. By 3 days after I did the OSCE, the pain came out. Pain used to come out really, really quickly. And immediately I showed it to my manager. She automatically took me up to band five. So
Okay.
mine was kind of a seamless transition, so to speak. However, notwithstanding, you still have to cross all the competency trainings by the
Mm,
hospital. You have to train for so many things. One thing I find
yeah.
really, really reassuring about working in the West is that nobody would ever expect you to do something they have not personally trained you to do.
Hmm. That's key. That's key. They have not personally, or that they don't have a record that you have trained to
Exactly,
do
that you
things.
have been trained to do.
For
You can
instance,
easily
manual
say,
handling. Yeah.
exactly, you can easily say, I'm not happy to put in a catheter because I know how to do it, but I'm not feeling very competent right now.
Or yeah, or even like comfortable doing it
Comfortable,
at the moment.
comfortable,
Comfortable
Yeah.
doing
yeah.
it. And before you know it, you find someone say, oh, do you want me to stay with you while we do it together?
Mhm.
And with that, that gives you a reassurance that there's somebody on your side, there's someone in your corner, and you with that it boosts your ability and
Wow.
your confidence and boosts your morale, and you'll be able to scale through. So
Yeah, I just want to touch base on that, just because we are talking about challenges as well as, strengths and successes around the line. I know that sometimes in Nigeria, right? And just to say that this podcast is not just for Nigerian nurses. It just happened that I have a lot of Nigerian nurses, within
on your
my
friend
reach. But
list.
it's open to every. So I think I have somebody coming in from Croatia or Romania who is a nurse. I'm looking for Indians. I'm looking for Irish. I'm looking for any, nationality. So to come up here if you are interested. I just wanted to say, during the waiting period or in the process, one of the things I also touch in the book is the challenges that international nurses go through. You talk about anxiety, you talk about childcare, you talk about, even that stress of my family is not here with me. For me, it was one of the factors for me because I left my 3.5 year old daughter and 1.5 year old son back in Nigeria.
I
So
left a 3 month and 2 weeks old baby back home, not
yeah,
for reasons of wanting to do that, but because her visa was denied 2 weeks to the expiry of my vignet.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah. So it's all these challenges put together, and you are still expected to function at your, you know, maximum at work.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm just
Mhm.
putting this word out there as well, you know, to managers, to employers, to put a lot of support in. I'm happy that you know you got some support, but not everybody gets it. You know, it varies
Yeah,
from employer to employer, from countries to country. We international educated nurses need more support in their period of transition, you know, and you know, this transition is not just, it could be 3 months for you, it could be 6 months for you.
for
For
somebody
me,
else, it could be a year for
for
somebody
me,
else.
person centered. We talk so much
hmm,
about person centeredness, not just to the patient, even for the nurse. It's very,
Absolutely.
yeah. I'm looking at the time there, and I know this is, we can chat all about this all day long. So, see,
Yeah,
mm,
I'm going to
yeah,
ask you just specifically,
mhm,
were there cultural and language barriers that you went through? Because these are some of the things that are
of
common
course,
over time in survey. And how did you go, you know, go through that? How did
of
you?
course, of course. I when I started practice, okay, before I during the bridging program, we were made to, they told us so many things. The bridging program took 13 months, so we
Mm,
did some courses that has to do with the cultural um differences, what are expected, those things that are expected of you as a nurse in Canada, how to
yeah,
talk to patients and things like that. So one thing that struck me there was you don't have to respond. When back home, when something is going wrong, you just tell your patients and the relatives, oh, don't worry, things will be fine. We are
no,
putting things under check. But here, no,
no,
you you don't have to talk like that because you cannot give them a false
false,
reassurance
reassurance.
yeah,
because you don't know what the outcome of what that person is going through will eventually be. You are only
yeah,
doing
yeah,
your work, looking at what the resident patient is presenting with at that time. So I struggled with that within me. So I was very conscious. Anytime I need to talk to a patient or talk to their relative, I just tell them right now, this is what is happening now, and these are the things we are putting in place. So we're going to work with what we have with the plan of care now. So there's nothing like, don't worry, you will be fine. So I understood that. Then coming
yeah,
to the way I speak, the Nigerian accent. At some point when I'm talking, they're like, what are you saying? And I'll look at them like, I'm speaking English for goodness sake. "Oh," and they'll say, oh, what did you say? I said,
yeah. I
English.
I
experienced
can,
that.
I can,
I
I
told you
can
that
hear
earlier.
you. I can hear you. Why can't you hear me? I am speaking English. Sometimes they ask me again, where am I from? And I say I'm from Nigeria. And they say, oh, do you guys have British colonization? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, no wonder you speak British English. I'm like, English is English for goodness sake, please. So I struggled with that with them, and I take my time to speak slowly so that they can get it. And
I think yes, Yemi said
sometimes,
it as well, as well. Speaking slowly.
sometimes I spell what I am saying so
Mm.
that, and they now pronounce it in the Canadian way. So I'm like, yeah. Even my kids, they always correct me with the Canadian accent that, mommy, no, it's not car, it's car. I'm like,
So,
what is car? So things like that
oh
was
my
there.
God,
But
I love it.
I didn't allow those things to even touch my thinking. I was like, whether you hear me or you don't hear me, we don't dey here. We go run am, we go do am. So and but
It was more like the intonation and the accent and
yeah,
the pace and
the
all that.
pronunciations and these things they are so different. And for
Mm.
some of them too, they speak so fast that you have to tell them, say that again. You can tell
Yeah, I think
I
so. You
can
say
tell
that
you
as well.
say that again like 3 times if I can't pick what you are saying. So sometimes they may look at you and say, why is this thing I have to say that
Why
again?
are you always
But
asking this question?
yeah, but then I know it's one of the transition
Mm-hmm.
processes. But right now we are good.
You are good. Now you're
Mm.
speaking, and you know it's very important. Like we just really be very specific. Asking questions doesn't make you stupid. When you ask
No.
question, it doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you less than who you are. It doesn't make you feel. You don't have to feel like you don't know as much. Because
Mm.
sometimes, well, I read this in one literature that talking about English and all that and competency, that sometimes if people can't really understand what you're saying, they
You're
might
not
kind of
communicating.
question your competence. But
Yeah.
looking at it, there has been a lot of argument that my communication skill, it's not synonymous or it's not associated or correlated with my
With
competence.
my level of intelligence or
It's
competence,
not
yeah.
directly. It's not
But
directly
It's not
proportional.
directly
not
Yeah.
directly,
proportional.
it's not
Yeah.
directly proportional. But if you look at it, if you are the patient and somebody you can't clearly understand what they are saying is talking to you, will you trust that person?
Mm.
100%. So it's still there's still some element of you being able to communicate well. Communication is key. If there's nothing that you're going to take out of this podcast today, is that communication is care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Care is communication. So
Yeah.
if you can't communicate clearly, then
Mm.
there's no care, because the person receiving the care will not be able to receive it
Would
Of
not
properly.
even
course.
be feeling
Exactly.
confident
So,
with
and it's
whatever
just
care you're
going out
giving.
of your way, doing extra, like you said. I was listening to a lot of podcasts. And you know what helped me was because I was also a trainer for OET. So my OET training, because I had to do a train the trainer, and we listened to a lot of podcasts and all that. It really helped me. So take extra, do something extra, listen to podcasts, watch British movie. Stop watching Yoruba, YouTube, everything.
Now I'll say something right there. I'll throw something in. So before I came to live in the Western world, one of my favorite films to watch was always the American film. Now, way back when American film industry, the Hollywood was already thriving, the British film industry wasn't thriving.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, so I would watch a lot of American film. And my mom would always say things like, "Are you sure you can understand what they are saying?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you not get what they're saying?" And she'd be like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." So when I started doing the IELTS, obviously we listened to a lot of podcasts,
yeah,
Australian accents, Irish accents, speaking English,
Mhm.
Canadian accents, and obviously your listening test. There were some listening tests. I did a total of three IELTS in all. There were some listening tests I scored 9
Mhm.
great.
because my listening had become so improved. But
Mm.
Guys,
Omo, I will not lie. Seeing
guys,
them
this
here and
podcast,
now,
this
It's
podcast
it
has
makes
turned
a
to gist,
difference.
so has turned to gist because I have two of my friends, one from way back from on primary school or secondary, and then another from
from the
OAU
uni.
uni. And it's really great to have you guys here, and that's why I said let's have this together. We're going to round up now. We're going to round up. I want to ask, and both of you, now, if you had an information like a guide, okay, you had something before you eventually traveled, right? Maybe a guide or a compass or something like that. What do you think that you would have really loved to know before you traveled, before you
Um,
eventually transitioned? Let me start with Toyin briefly. And
Yeah,
I just want to give a shout out. I think we
I
have
would love
from Leash African Support Group. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
love to have an overview of what to expect.
Okay.
So oftentimes we just jet out of our countries hoping for the best, but not realizing what we should actually expect. Now,
Mm,
I'm going to say one thing, please. Our Nigerian or internationally educated nurses should have it at the back of their mind that when you come to work in a place outside your home country, it is not very, how do I call it, encouraging to find you discussing on the non-official table on official grounds using your traditional or home country languages. It's sort of it breaks communication, and then
mhm.
it sets you against your colleagues. They
true.
just naturally conclude that you're doing something you don't want them to know.
Mm.
Mm,
However, when you're on your break and you're discussing outside of the workplace official space, then
Mhm.
it's fine. Speak your pidgin English, speak your native languages, but don't do it while on the ward, while in the office or something like that. I don't feel like it's very it looks good on you. I
Professional,
don't feel
not
I don't feel
professional.
it looks professional. That's just the thing. Yeah.
Very well. How about Tosin? So Tony has said she would really love to have like an overview of what to expect, and this is something that I'm sure is in the book New Not a Novice Nurse. Tosin, what about you?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's the same, but Canada has different provinces, and each province have their different nursing regulations and guidelines and processes. So what I went through in my initial province, because I have moved from that province now, so it's different from some other provinces. So if there can be a clear explanation of, okay, as an IEN in this province, this is what you will go through, and this is how you can go about it, then it would have, prepared me also for what I met on ground. Even though the wait list that I had about before I landed, I didn't know it was going to take, up to one
Yeah,
year. But I heard that some other provinces it takes like 4 years. So you can imagine you being on a wait list just to get integrated into nursing profession for 4 years.
no,
That
I
can
know.
be so, daunting, and you just lose hope. So those things, I think, it's
Yeah,
really important
what
to
to
have a clear,
expect.
yeah, of what to expect. And you should also prepare your mind. It will make you to prepare your mind for whatever comes your way. That's okay, as long as this is the guideline, I'm just going to follow and follow through.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, but things
very
have
well.
changed now. Most provinces in Canada no longer require bridging programs.
That's good to hear.
It started towards the end of my bridging, so I couldn't pull out of the bridging program anymore. I just had
Okay,
to finish the bridging program, but I compensated myself. I prepared for NCLEX within just 1 month, and I
great.
aced it at the first sitting. So
Great. So, while you're still talking there, we're rounding up now. Sing, I want you to tell our audience why they should get those that why they should get the book "New Not a Novice Nurse."
wow. I have not read New Not a Novice Nurse, but I'm surely going to read it. It's a work of great knowledge that Yinka has done. I believe Yinka has done a wonderful job on that book. That book would enlighten anyone who is landing in a new country to practice as a nurse. It's going to build your confidence. It's going to make you feel that there is nothing you cannot do. So the details of how to go about it and not act like I don't know. It's in the book. It's a must for every nursing professional to get.
Thank you so much. And how about you, Tony? I'm bringing you up now. Yeah.
Yeah, so new not a novice nurse, the Q is in its name. It's saying that essentially you're a nurse. You're not novice to nursing, but you're new to the system. But this book should g- kind of become a handbook guide for an intending to relocate or a newly relocated internationally educated nurse. So grab yourself a copy and read about the overview and the I'm not gonna call it a complete guide, but I believe it's gonna shed a lot of light on the gray areas
Mm,
of how to navigate the climb in the West as an internationally educated nurse, and it's also going to help you read up on people's experiences and ideas of how they've overcome issues in the past. By so doing, you should only be wiser and be stronger for it.
wow, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. We're supposed to be 30 minutes. It's 53 minutes. Oh my God. It's been an enlightening and very interesting session with my ladies, Tony and Tosin. Thank you for coming.
You're
And
welcome.
just like Tony has said, you will find their stories, you find this discussion, a summary of it, so to say, in the book as well. So I'm dedicating a whole chapter to sharing the stories, successes of internationally educated nurse. And if you would like, you to be part of this as well, you want to share your story, you want people to learn from your struggles, and get strength from your struggles, please just send me a DM or an email to noscochola at yahoo or at gmail.com. And to everybody that are watching this either on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or everywhere, thank you so much. You can drop a question, drop a comment, contribution, or anything, just to inspire or motivate me. Look out for the book. Expected to be launched within the week of the International Nurses Week.
Okay.
That's the May 6th to May 12th. Okay, it's going to be a global launch. Like I've said, I'm launching this book everywhere, virtually, physically. So you can invite me if you have a group of nurses that you want to, experience this book as well. I'll launch it virtually or physically anywhere. So just send me a message as well. From next week, we're starting the Brag About Your Nursing Skills Challenge, and you have a lot of prizes. Just watch out for the flyer there in the comments, and make sure you participate in this. There's so many prizes as well. I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for sponsors. I want more prizes for nurses. Why should you brag about your nursing skill? You don't have to feel less of yourself. Talk about the skills that you have. Let people know what you can offer, right? And like, I remember there was a time that you would do something to a patient and then the patient will say, thank you so much. And then you said, it's a pleasure. No, like, you can also respond back like, wow, I'm happy that, I was able to make a positive difference in your life. You really need to be very assertive and clear, so appreciate yourself, brag about the skills you have. Some of us, not really. Sometimes you feel like, well, I like bedside. Some people, I don't like bedside, but what you love, talk about it. I'm very good at speaking. I'm very, people relationship and things like that. So brag about that if that is your skill. So that's what we're going to be doing from next week. So thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure. Till the next episode tomorrow. Okay. Watch out for the link and make sure you participate. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Don't forget, pre-order before the price goes up. Pre-order. Just go to the website or use the link and to pre-order. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.